Hi everyone, we're back again. Like I said in my live stream this morning, it's my day off, so we're back again because I'm doing lots and lots of recording because there's so many videos I've wanted to do. And this has been one I've wanted to do for, oh god, probably since I started my channel. Slacker. But yeah, so I wanted to talk about, I think it's pretty, if anyone's ever mentioned dissociation to you, or they've talked to you about it, or you have it, or blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you probably know, the basic general symptoms of dissociation. And I'm sorry, guys, again, I'm slightly out of it. Woohoo! What else is new? So I am slurring my words a little bit. So just try and tolerate it. I'm sorry, I'm not drunk or stoned or anything. I wish I was, but whatever. So I'm sorry if some of the words I'm saying don't quite come out clearly, but maybe I'll even do my closed captioning stuff again. But I wanted to talk about some of the symptoms and I don't know if it's side effects or symptoms. I'm just going to throw them both together. Side effects and symptoms of dissociation that nobody told me about. Because I feel like when it comes to mental health issues, and I'm so way too close to my there we go. There's a lot of mental health stuff that with certain diagnoses, people just don't tell you shit. There's symptoms that actually I feel like would really matter, and no one tells them. No one tells you that these things exist, and that, this is a symptom and a thing and whatnot. And when it comes to dissociation, I think that's one of the ones that they really don't tell you about some of this stuff, so I wanted to do a little video kind of about the weird symptoms of D.I.D. and dissociation that I was not told about, especially because one of them is happening, right now, and just about every time I make a video, actually. So I want to just jump right into that, because some of my videos have gotten long today, because I'm all scatterbrained. Right. Okay. So one of the main ones that is, freaking me out right now, and happens just about every stinking video I make, is I don't recognize myself. And that's a really hard one to explain very well, so I hope I make this make sense. If not, please feel free to ask questions in the comments, or shoot me a message in, my inbox or whatever. But when and this is really bad, with older content, I really don't recognize myself, I have very few pictures of me from my childhood, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. Maybe there will be a time later, at some point in my life, when I get all sentimental and shit and want those pictures, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I have very few childhood pictures. But I do have one hard copy of a picture of myself and my siblings from when I was younger. And I can't, if someone hadn't told me I was in that picture, I wouldn't be able to tell you which person in the picture was me. There's 3 girls, in this picture. And the only reason I know I'm in the picture is because someone told me I'm in the picture. And I might have been able to know that just based on the fact that my 2 older sisters are also in the picture, and I can very easily recognize them in any picture they're in. And common sense would probably say, hey, that little girl that looks younger than the older 2 with brown hair is probably me, but it doesn't resonate with me. I don't recognize myself. So, as I'm looking at my webcam right now, I don't feel like that looks like me. I know it is, and whatnot, but when I see images of myself, they don't resonate, and that's a dissociation and a dissociative identity disorder symptom, and like it's a symptom of both. You have a really difficult time recognizing yourself, and for some people it's something that happens all the time, 24/7. It's a constant problem. And some people it's only at certain times, like when they're in a present state of dissociation, like when they're dissociating they don't recognize themselves, or only when they look, like I mentioned before, at an old picture or whatnot. It just depends on the person, but it's something that's actually pretty common that no one fucking told me about, and I didn't know that was normal for a very long time, and now I do. So if you have a dissociative disorder pretty much of any kind, it isn't actually all that unusual to not recognize yourself either pretty consistently or like just when you're dissociated. So that's one of the things that no one really warns you about being a symptom of DID or dissociation or anything, is you just, like when you look in a mirror, you'll see the reflection and logically you will know that is your reflection, because, you know, it's not a psychotic disorder, it's just, it doesn't resonate with you, like it doesn't look like you. And that's the best I can explain that. And I have that pretty much all the stinking time when I make my videos or look at pictures of myself, especially if there's videos or something from more than about a couple weeks ago. If it's more than about 2 weeks old, I really don't freaking recognize myself worth a darn. Another one is this, it kind of falls under the DID scope, but it more falls in my opinion, it falls more under the dissociation scope than DID, is vertigo or like loss of balance. And I've always noticed this, but I didn't realize anyone else noticed this symptom. And for me, it kind of does, because it gets really, really bad after I've switched. You know, like if another alter's been out and then I come back out, it's really bad. But, usually at that time I'm so confused and I'm just trying to get my bearings that it's not really noticeable after a switch, if that makes sense, because I'm usually sitting down or I'm just standing and I'm not moving or doing anything, so most people don't recognize it very well. So, yeah. So, but with dissociation, it is really, really bad. And apparently a lot more noticeable than I thought it was. In fact, I didn't actually realize it was as noticeable to other people until several months back. I was getting started with my psychiatrist, and I hate psychiatrists and they're very stressful, so I wound up dissociating in the meeting, and I went to get up to leave with my therapist, because my therapist was in the meeting with the person with me, and I stood up and I kind of like walked into the wall, like, which is why I get bruises from nowhere, because of this vertigo crap. And I just walked into the wall, and then I kind of did one of these, but standing. And obviously the nurse lady was like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" And my therapist was just kind of like, "Yeah, it's fine, she just gets a little vertigo when she's dissociated." And I mean, I was dissociated, but at the same time, I remember having the thought of, like, shit, you noticed that? You know, like, you picked up on that? Well, why not? She's been my therapist long enough. But so, you know, when you dissociate, a lot of people, come to find out, have vertigo, or they, like, kind of lose their balance a little bit. No explanation for why that is. I don't know. I just know it's a common thing. So, kind of getting vertigo and losing your balance is one of them too. Another one that I thought it was just me, especially because I have speech impediments and hearing issues. I thought it was just something with me, but I've noticed it's when I'm in a dissociated state or a slightly disconnected state, it's really bad. And come to find out from talking to a couple other YouTubers who I just happened to notice it on their videos, and I got talking to them, is that a lot of people slur their words when they're dissociated. And the only explanation I can think of for that is that you're disconnected, and just talking in general in a dissociated dissociated state is pretty dang hard. And so it's just a thing. It just is. I don't have an explanation for it, really. I have a hair just going crazy. But so, like, a lot of the time I get self-conscious about it because I feel like people think I am drunk. Because that's a really common thing, is drunk people slur their words. And I don't drink. I drink maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Tops, you know? And so I just kind of wanted to put that out there as a, hey, just so you know type thing, because I have a lot of people I follow on, or I'm subscribed to, use the right term there for a minute, on YouTube, and they do slur their words, and I don't want anyone to think that those people might be drunk or intoxicated anyway, because it's very likely that they're not actually intoxicated at all, and that actually they're just slightly dissociated or really dissociated, and they're slurring their words. But no one told me that, so I went through years and years of thinking it was just my speech impediment, or that it was just something wrong with me, which I guess it kind of was. Like, I guess if you look at it that way, there is something wrong with me, which makes me slur my words. So definitely vertigo and slurring your words and the inability to recognize yourself and whatnot are definitely 3 main symptoms that no one's stinking bothered to tell me about. And shoot, there was one other one that, like, just is a really common thing, and no one told me about it, and I wish they would have, and now I can't remember it. But that's okay, because this video is at 12 minutes. I'm trying to, like, not edit my videos and yet keep them to about 15 minutes or less. So, yeah, those were my 3 main ones, was the vertigo and the, slurring of the words and the not recognizing yourself. Oh, and the things feeling in the depth perception. That's right. That's the other one I was going to do. Or talk about, not do. Is when you dissociate or are in a dissociated state. Okay, I have bad depth perception to begin with. But it's not horrible. But when I dissociate, I cannot judge distance to save my life. Like, I literally can't. It's part of the reason that when I'm driving and I start to feel like I'm dissociated, I have to pull over, because there's no way I can drive safely. I'm guessing at how far something is away from me, so it's just not safe. It's also why I get bruised a lot and scraped a lot for no reason. It's because I bump into shit all the stinking time, and people blame it on that. I think that's what's frustrating, is people think I'm really clumsy, which I am. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm constantly in at least some state of dissociation or another, pretty much all the time. Very rarely am I 100% grounded. So my depth perception is always messed up, and my coordination is always messed up, which is another thing that no one tells you about being a symptom of dissociation. You get all uncoordinated and stuff because you're not grounded, you're not there, so you're just functioning on a crappy level. So with the crappy depth perception, I might think a wall is 10 feet away from me, and it's actually only 6. So I bump into the wall. Or I might think I'm making a wider turn than I actually am, and I will walk into stuff. Or, corners will look like they're farther away and stuff, and I just bump into them. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to, like, the coordination. I drop stuff all the time. Like, I can't tell you how many times I drop my phone. Or dang near spill my coffee cup all over my bed because I think I've set it all the way up on the counter, and it's just like, meh. So I think I'm going to wrap that up. So vertigo is one thing, and not recognizing yourself, and the slurring of the words and stuff, and then, like, the coordination. I think I just said one twice and forgot one, but whatever. It's all good. So, hopefully that shed some light, and if you're someone experiencing those things, it's not weird. If you dissociate, it's normal. We all do it. Pretty much anyone with a dissociative disorder goes through it. It's not something unique to you or wrong with you or anything like that. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Because I wish somebody would have thrown that out there when I was first diagnosed with it, so, but they didn't. So hopefully that helps, or at least maybe make some of you a little more aware that, you know, not everyone's clumsy and not everyone's drunk, and there are other explanations for stuff.